So, yeah, so this one is the picture of the most updated figures on the CO2 emissions per capita across the world. And you can see is that all across the world, even developing and developing countries, in each year, we emit 10 tons to 20 tons of climate change of CO2 to the atmosphere, which is a very huge numbers. And because of that, it has been worsened the climate change situation and also exert more impact on the lower lying countries, developing countries, especially like Vietnam. And the fact is that Vietnam is one of the world's top 5 most vulnerable countries to climate change. In fact, in recent years, our country has suffered quite a lot from typhoon, from flood, from drought, which is with a severe level. And given the fact that Vietnam is a long coastline country, the impacts of climate change is quite evident. We can feel that every year, and it's affect a highly population located across that areas, and also for the the whole economic access as well. But in fact, the most impacted region in Vietnam is the Mekong Delta region, which face frequently observe adverse weather events and is among the 3 deltas most likely underwater by 2050, along with Gangsi's River Delta in Bangladesh and River Nile in Egypt. And it's so much severe of climate change effect in recent years. I would like to show you the pictures. These are the picture of the recent climate events in Vietnam, which is very severe droughts, which people have no fresh, especially rural people have no fresh water to raise their crops. These are the picture of salinity invasion, which kills often the crops, and people have to search for fresh water not only to raise the crops themselves, but also to meet their basic needs. And for all of those efforts, it's raised an urgent need to have a research in climate change, especially in how to help people to engage in climate change better and to improve their conservation activities. However, paradoxically, the climate change communication research in Vietnam is in a very dire situation or context. For my research, I can find that very limited academic research on climate change information sources. Most of the research is about media coverage of climate change, which is a kind of top-down communication, while information of climate change can come from many other sources as well. And the second point is that there is a scattered research in public climate change engagement, research in how to help the public to engage into the issues better. And the most importantly is that there is no research to find the relationship between climate change information source and public climate change engagement in order to how to improve the awareness and also the action of lay public toward these issues. And so that is why I want to do this research. My research aim first is to identify climate change engagement and its perceived barriers in Mekong deltas, which is looking at the current levels of engagement of climate change of people, and also what is the barriers that affect them the most. That is the first aim. The second aim is that I want to find out about climate change information sources and their perceived impacts on the engagement. This information is not only about the media, but also from other sources as well, such as from the government, from the scientists, from the business, or even from the people around them, which is the lay people or the lay knowledge from families or friends, which proves to be very effective. But in order to answer to reach on the aims, first is need to understand what is public engagement with climate change in my research that I want to talk about. And originally, political engagement with climate change refer mainly only about political engagement. It is about how the public engage with the government policies, like whether they support of or opposition to, or even require for the government policies. But today it's also include the socio-economic engagement. That's how they understand about the impact, the cause, the impact, and also what is the solution that they can actual solution they can enact in their daily life. And the last but not least, that is moral engagement, which is like how they understand their behavior that could affect other people, and also for the next generations as well. And the engagement in this research has been individually examined at cognitive, affective, and behavioral level, which refer to how people think, feel, or act toward climate change. Climate change engagement is actually multifaceted, not only just about politically. It's about low carbon consumption, how you use green products, low carbon working, like what is the practice that used to reduce the carbon dioxide emission, low carbon citizenship, or low carbon championships, advocacies that transmit the ideas of climate change information and to reduce the climate change impact to other people as well. However, all of these efforts has been, even though people want to do all of these things, they still encounter some of the practical barriers at individuals and structural societal levels, which also include the information also include in my research as well. And in order to reach all of that aims, I have been conduct 50 in-depth interview with lay people in the three most climate change affected provinces in Cần Thơ, Sóc Trăng, and Cà Mau. These are the three provinces that is located in the Mekong Delta region and heavily affected by climate change. I mean, eventually, like day by day or month by month. It's not years anyway. No, this time. And among those, there is 33 rural participants, 13 urban participants, and 4 climate specialists for like kind of supporting ideas and then to kind of reinforce or counters the opinion from participants. The reason why I want to interview more rural participants is because I want to understand how they cope with climate change issues and what kind of information source that they reach to for their daily work. And even though just 13 urban participants, but actually the results after transcription has given me a very clear-cut division of climate change of climate change engagement, how they understand and act toward climate change, and also how they receive the climate change information, which is very different between the two. Sorry. That's for all of these method and also research question has to give me some of the ideas of what is the division between rural and urban participant. And the first one is that the rural residents are much more engaged than with climate change than the urban ones, even though the urban ones are the one who live in the city and they get the information the most. The first is that the urban participants have rather superficial and shallow concerns for climate change impacts. Most of the concerns are about travel infrastructure system or daily schedule disruption because of the weather change. Some of them talk about the health impacts, such as the health impact of climate change is like coughing or flu, or they have no evidence about or clue about the impacts of climate change economically. On the other hand, the rural residents are much more wary of the daily life impacts. They scare of climate change impact, and they worry that these impact will affect on their livelihood, and they do whatever they think that is okay, but do not have any certainty about the fruitfulness of the plans that they're going to do, or it just make their life so much harder that they don't know what to do. Despite all of the difficulties that climate change bring about, rural residents are actually more commitment to climate actions than the urban ones. They tend to do and think about whatever they can do to change their life and also adapt to the climate situation, because that is their livelihood. That is what they have to do in their own land. Otherwise, they will die and they have nothing to keep going with even live in their own land. Some of the example, like they can change cultivation practice, like raising different kinds of fish in the brackish water. This is kind of water which is the mix between the fresh water and the salt water. Is the consequence of salinity invasion, which before is most of the water in the Mekong Delta region are fresh water. They raise fishes, but now it's not anymore. They do spread recycling or even transition to eco-tourism model. It is kind of incorporate for agricultural practice with tourism to attract customer to come. However, for the urban participant, they have very low threshold for the climate actions. Their behavior perception is kept at recognition of the action, actually, like such as using green products or change to alternative energy resources. But it's the actual action of urban participant is seem to be very low, such as I will apply the methods if I have resources, or sometime I categorize the garbage, for example. And because of the higher commitment to the action, the rural residents seem to be seeking more engage for seeking support and engage with the government more than the urban participants. They have a higher level of political engagement. This is the reason. The reason is that if they do not have support from the governments, there's no way, or it's very hard for them to turn their action into reality. So they do a lot of things, such as requesting the local government for further support, or even proposing policy directly to the government. And this, in this way, they can engage with the government and then call for their support constantly for their work. And because of that, most of the support from the government will help them to improve their life better. And from that, because they in that situation, they have recognized more individuals and organizational barriers as well. Because the thing is that when they do their work and they can recognize the individuals and organizational barriers more clearly than the urban ones. Not only just recognize the individuals and organizational barriers, they also feel more and have kind of effect from the individuals' barriers themselves. The first individual barriers that they suffer from, which is the lack of financial and material resources. It is important to notice that in Vietnam, the economic status of the rural people are very low. They simply do not have enough money or land to change to something more profitable than agricultural work. Some of them even trying to change to tourism, but then they do not have enough money and land to do so. The second barriers is that the lack of sustainable working and living practice. This is referred to a group community of rural people where they have kind of inappropriate cultivation practice, using a lot of pesticide or fertilizer, which affect other people as well. To the point that some of the participants say the fishes can no longer live in the river water, or some of the farmers that live with them use cultivation methods and abuse pesticide that can affect other people a lot. The third individuals barriers that they have is the lack of sustainability knowledge, which refer to the instant noodles information. The reason why I put instant noodles in the quotation mark, it is because it's referred to the instant what I say, this refer to the quick information that people want to get. And from this quick information, they want to quick results. And from quick results, they have used a lot of pesticide and fertilizer to raise their plants as quickly as possible for the sake of the profits. And this kind of lack of sustainability knowledge has affected the whole community in rural areas. Not only suffer from the individual's barriers, they also suffer a lot from the structural barriers themselves, which is very hardly can see in the urban participant, because they live in the urban areas which have a very good investment from the governments, and the infrastructure over there is rather good than the infrastructure in rural areas. So that is why rural participants feel the structural barriers to their livelihood more strongly than the urban one. The first structural barriers that rural participants can feel is the fluctuation by limited political support and actions. This refer to the fact that even though the government in Vietnam try to encourage rural participants to change their cultivation, they encourage them to change the livelihood and plant different, raise different plants, have a different animal breed. But actually, after that, they do not give insufficient or proper information how people to get along with. Rural residents have been, trying to advance to reach for the government and ask for the information, but because of limited political support, there is not much information over there, and they have to do it all by themselves. Some of the the comments you can see here is that not other places, there's not much help here. Rural residents get bored of unresponsive local government, so they find their own way themselves, which is very frustrating and sad for rural participants. Not only because they feel the limited political support and actions, they also feel and suffer more from climate change due to the shortage of enabling infrastructure and mechanism for sustainability framing. This I want to explain to you is that, the current situation in Mekong Delta region in Vietnam right now is very severe. The constant flooding, tidal flooding, and salinity invasion occur on everyday basis. However, there is not much enabling infrastructure and mechanism to help the rural participants to inhibit or to obstruct salinity invasion, try to reduce the level of invasion, or to storage of fresh water for plantation. And the most troubling infrastructure is the wet treatment infrastructures. It is the fact that rural participants, they do not have enough money to do kind of high technology farming with separate wet treatment infrastructures. They need the help from the governments to build wasted infrastructure for them, so they can pour all the waste over there. But in fact, there is none of those. So eventually, they have to throw all of the waste into the environment unchecked, which is called loss of environmental trouble, and also CO2 emission into the environment. Another structural barriers that the rural participants feel, which is the losses that they suffer from the weak cooperative mechanism among various social stakeholders. This probably, I would say, the strongest structural barriers that rural participants have to suffer from. It is the fact that they try and they work very hard to kind of to change their agricultural or their farming practice by raising a new plants or a new breed of animals. but eventually there is no cooperative between mechanism that is from the government with the business and industry. There's no point, no one help them to sell their products. So this is kind of the lack of organized resources side for like investor and trader to come and purchase their products in the farming area. It's very difficult for them to bring the product to the big city for the high income by themselves, because in that way they do not have any authorization or support from the government, and then customer come in and they ask where this product come from. Can I trust it? How do I know it is not raised with high because the high level of pesticide is safe for me to eat? And it's very hard for them to do it all by themselves. They need the cooperation between the government and industry to help them to sell the products. So that is the reason why it's led to another very like kind of detrimental circle of good harvest, low price, or low price, low harvest, high price, referring to the fact that it's during the on season they have a huge amount of products, but they sell it very low price. And to compensate for the low income, they have to do off-season plans, which mean that they have to use abuse fertilizer or pesticide, to grow the product to the best level that they can sell products. So all of these kind of weak cooperative mechanism between the government and other social factor has caused a lot of trouble for rural participant, which, by the way, never experienced by urban participant, because they actually urban participants, they do not have to do all these things, and they do not have to worry about the plants or fruits or products. The work of urban people in the cities is quite simple. They go to the office, more than go to the office, go back home, and they have no worry about the cooperative mechanism between the government and other social stakeholders. And actually, that led me to another findings, which is the impacts of leaders lacking knowledge and understanding. The weak cooperative mechanism between various stakeholders also largely depends on the understanding of the situation of the government leaders, and because of that, they do not have enough understanding about the situation. That's why they do not have enough policy to have the government to have the rural people. Although despite all of the you can say from now we can see that the rural participant has suffered quite a lot. I mean, not quite a lot, a lot from the individual's barriers and also structural barriers. But in fact, they still keep going. They still keep going. They have to beat the adversary and to change their cultivation and try to adapt to the climate situation that worsen day by day. And in order to do so, they have actively seek information from all the information source that they can have, in order to have the information that can help them to improve their livelihood. And that is the limit to the findings. That is, the rural participant use kind of all of information source, not only from the media but also from the government, from scientists, from the business, and also from the people living around them. The next finding is about rural participants use less and are more critical of climate change information in the media. The media are actually the first source that they search for the climate change information for, because that's the quickest way they can go. However, the quality of the information on the media raised a very serious concern, and this had been acknowledged by the rural participants, which is, they said, is too shallow or superficial. Most of the information on the media is about mundane daily weather information. It's lack of details, climate change communication that they can actually use and apply for their daily life. It is irrelevant, with no solution for real life climate problems. And in some of the ways, it is kind of far away information from the sea level rising or ozone layer depletion, iceberg melting, which they find is very distant, too far away, and have no actual help for them. And because of the effects of the media, the rural participants tend to kind of not trust the media anymore. It's not kind of trust, but they do not find it useful. So they seek for other sources, which is the more direct climate change information sources, which is why the rural participants are favor more. And the first source of information that they like, and they often search for, that is the um, 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 scientists. But before that, we must understand that the urban residents do not receive and search for climate change information from direct sources, scientists, business, government, or NGOs, because of distant feeling. Some of the urban participants in my research has say, I don't actively seek for information because it's not my concern, or I don't really like the issues, so I don't search for the information, or I don't receive the information from all of these sources. However, for rural participants, they rely more on the direct source, and they receive the information not only from the media but also from the scientists and other sources as well, and have very different level of use and appreciation of the contents of the climate change information from these sources. The first source that they refer to, that is the scientific knowledge, scientific knowledge, which they mostly get from the scientific community. Scientific knowledge are more highly evaluated and appreciated by the rural participant. However, it depends on how. It's very interesting finding is that it depends how the information has been delivered to them, that they can trust the information. Most of the scientific climate change communication that they accept come from government organized meeting with scientists present. So in Vietnam, we have a government system, which is a kind of one-party system. So in all the cities and provinces, we have the government structure or government organization that take care of the life of the people over there. But if scientists, a group of scientists come to the rural people and talk about the issues of climate change, but actually people don't believe them. They don't believe that group of scientists if they directly go to the people, because of the fear and lack of authorization from the governments. They need the government to make sure that these information, these scientists are come from the university, and they need that is true and they can be trusted. And some of them say scientific organization authorized and confirmed by the government will gain my credibility. That is appear quite a lot in the interviews. But since they trust quite a lot from the government, how about the government's climate change information themselves? And actually, from the findings, the rural participant actually talk about these issues, which is government direct communication, climate change communication is trusted, but not highly valued because of some reason. First of all, it is boring to read. It is kind of the form in a formal administrative document, and it's lack of specific local and hands-on solutions. So we can see that they trust the scientific knowledge, but they must need the authentication and also kind of support and also agreement approval from the government so that they can trust the information. Is very interesting findings. And another source that rural participants also seek for, that is from the business itself. In some cases, when they have a severe impact of climate change or weather, which is like ruin their crops, they often prefer to go for quick and practical climate change information from business. But then later on, there has been realized that it is the profit-driven trap from the business, which means that some of the business have organized a workshop to deliver technical information for cultivation in climate change situation. But the main purpose is to sell their products, such as fertilizers or pesticides. What business is trying to do is that is just trying to sell the product, not the solely purpose is to help the rural participant how to improve the quality of their crops. And in fact, all of the information above have got a lot of evaluation from the rural participant, but the most favorite, I would say, the most favor and the most effective sort of information that is from indigenous and self-taught knowledge from friends and families, but it should be in combination with the scientific knowledge. So what they do is that this have a lot of people, rural participants that I interview, that they said they want to learn about scientific knowledge, but however, they incorporate that knowledge with the knowledge that they already know, that from their fathers, from their ancestors, that they already learned from the past, and they apply it with the scientific knowledge to for their cultivation practice, and this proved very effective, because some of them say with scientific knowledge in many cases they apply solely the scientific knowledge, but it's cost a lot of money and take too much effort for them to do, so they're unable to last for a long period of time. But if they adapt with indigenous and self-taught knowledge from the ancestor, from friends and family, they find the process maybe quicker, but it must be combined with scientific knowledge. So it's have a scientific approval from that. So they feel that the results they get from their cultivation practice is improving. For urban participants, the perception of family and friends climate change information only as mundane or casual information sources with little impact on their climate change awareness. A lot of urban participants in my interview, they do not really talk about with the families about the climate change information and how to engage with the climate change issues better. There is a very limited information or even no information when I interview with the urban participant, which is different scenario from the rural participants. So until up to this point, you can see that rural participants have been suffer not only from the individual's barrier, but also from the organizational barriers, but they actively seek for the information, have evaluation for various source information, and choose the right information that they want to apply. For conclusion, the first one is that the urban resident, even in the hearts of adversary climate change impacts, are not too concerned about the climate change itself. But on the other hand, the rural participants feel strongly the impact of climate change in their daily life, and therefore they have a better engagement in own aspect. This is very important reason that I have during my interview with the participants, where they keep talking about the fact that urban resident has been enjoy a lot of profits and also priorities from the government to have a better infrastructures to fight against climate change, and they have a better life over there. But for rural residents, they suffer severely from the climate change impacts climate change impact in own aspect of their life, and it's very difficult for them to engage in climate change issues since they do not have enough support from the government and also enabling infrastructure that they can use to improve their cultivation practice. Second one is that despite all the constrained individuals and organization barrier, rural residents are more active in seeking adaptive climate change information and are more critical of practical values on each source. It is true that they search for the information. They do actively seek for the information, and later on they have evaluation on these source so they can choose the best approach they can use for their work, which is show that indigenous knowledge and the combination of scientific knowledge proved to be the best one that they can use. And for the future research, I think it should be more focused on the impact of lay and indigenous climate change knowledge in particular areas and find measure to integrate such knowledge with other information to enhance the lay climate change engagement. It's not only for the urban people, but also not only for the rural people, but also for urban people as well. So for for the rural people, it's very important that they can integrate the lay knowledge that they already know with other information and also other channels that that in that way can expand the information for the larger community. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.